So it seems Planetside has fallen out of harmony lately, and all over Reddit, people and their mother and their sister and their brother are posting about being the change the game needs, not the one it has, because they're Batman.
I'm Batman.
So, 15 minutes of keyboard heroism ahoy, let's try to bring some balance and harmony to the discussion by talking about a few things many people seem to be passing at present, and how they relate to fixing Planetside 2. We'll go over business model, redeploy side, logistics, and the casual player. Yes. Let's start with the money, shall we? Every company needs money. It lets you fund development of content and pay your staff. And with it, you can address a lot of other problems. So the logical conclusion would be that if you're having difficulty paying developers, an increase in revenue is probably a good idea. And what happens when you're not making enough money? Nasty things. And nasty things have happened to Planetside 2. With that in mind, why is it the business model is being discussed little in comparison to other topics? A lot of people are suggesting things like adding more continents and then a continent lattice at the moment, but not so many are suggesting how to fund it. Come then, heroes, let us render aid. The business model for Planetside 2 has major flaws that have existed and persisted since day one. Taking that into consideration, should it really surprise you an event like half the staff being sacked took place? Or should it have been foreseen that it was at least a risk? What, don't you remember the $40 bundles? Pay $40, save $5 on a skin! Let's take a look at the store nowadays. This is the main page. This is where you put things you really want people to see and buy. This is where you hook them. This is where the featured bundle has no bundles and just display the black hand. On the subject of bundles, look! The menu is actually advertising the new player bundle page. Except the character I'm filming on is battle rank 48. This should be seen by all characters that are below BR 30 or so, as opposed to being phased in and out based on events. That way low-level players see it when they join, as well as during events, rather than just one or the other. Higher players could be pointed to more specialized bundles for personalized marketing. But these new player bundles, let's take a look at one. This is the Light Assault bundle. It includes fighter rocket pods. The problem with this is taking a fighter with pods, firing a volley, and bailing out to do light assault stuff hasn't been resource efficient for some time now. Now that resources for consumables and vehicles are pooled, you need them for C4, whereas when they were separate, a fighter could be used as throwaway transport. If you are going to use disposable aircraft, you'll probably use a Valkyrie, because they cost less nanites, and for other classes the ejection seat is also cheaper than other aircraft. And on the subject of the Valkyrie, while the Galaxy, Liberator, and Fighter each have a bundle on offer, the Valkyrie has no bundle. The bundles page looks like it's a year out of date. It's out of touch with the needs of the modern player, and there isn't really any diversity for roles. While the Lightning and Main Battle Tank have a small bundle each, there's no Tankers bundle when there could be some tank weapons offered with a resource boost thrown in, and I would question the honesty of stating some of these items being sold are actually the most popular as the description claims. There's no Launchers bundle for heavy assaults. In fact, no launchers are sold at all except in the starter kit. There's only one bundle per vehicle and one or two per class, and no further diversification. There's no air-to-air bundle for fighters, for example. There could be a shotguns bundle, there could be an Nanite Systems general purpose bundle that offers a pistol, submachine gun, and shotgun, and most importantly at the moment, the recently released sidearm, the Black Hand, isn't bundled into anything. You're supposed to find a weapon or two that aren't selling well and mix them with the Black Hand for a higher price than a normal Black Hand to upsell the product and get people to pay more for the Black Hand than they otherwise would in order to get the extra guns cheaply that they probably wouldn't have bought otherwise. The McDonald's supersize strategy. This allows people to walk away with a good deal on guns while paying more than they would have if they just bought one item. That's the whole point of a bundle. And on the featured bundles, you hawk the Black Hand versatility packs while it's new. There should be at least 4 or 5 Black Hand packs pairing it with shotguns or submachine guns or some such on offer at the moment, but there's none. Also, there's no boost in any of the bundles. Why not throw in a few so people get some tastes, get familiar with using them, and want to buy more? You shouldn't trip over dollars to pick up pennies. The bundle page and in-game market have no soul. They have no creativity, and the bundles page looks like it was designed by someone who hasn't played the game in a year, and being out of touch with the modern player means less people buying. Be honest. When's the last time you pulled up the in-game store to look at featured bundles or said to yourself, I wonder if any new deals are out, as opposed to just casually glancing at it? I'm guessing it was a while ago, if at all. Also, if you're a max player, you still have to buy the same weapon twice for the left and right hand at $7 a pop. It's been said the business model focuses on subscriptions, but that's not an excuse to consign every other aspect to abandonment and decay. Further aggravating the issue of overpriced weaponry is the inability to field test them properly before purchase. While the game has a trial system, you may only trial a weapon for 30 minutes with no attachments and only once per month, and other gear cannot be trialed at all. That's not going to tell you if a laser sight is good for your shotgun or if you'll actually like a weapon in live fire conditions. And when you combine a poor trial system with high prices, you make your store look like a shoddy used car lot, and that makes people want to hang on to their money rather than spend. And many equipment items like the upgraded nanite shield for heavy assaults can't be properly tested in the virtual reality area, further frightening a prospective investor. In a game where an upgraded kit or vehicle blatantly outclasses a default, the trial system needs to allow the common player meaningful access to testing so he can decide where to invest. Planetside 2 fails miserably in this regard. Weapon trials need to be 3 days, not 30 minutes, and need to allow access to attachments. This will allow consumers an informed opinion and provide temporary supplement to new players with low-quality gear. And once they have a taste of the good stuff, they'll want to buy. Weapon and equipment trials should run on separate cooldowns so they can be used together, but individual cooldowns would still exist on the 30-day normal to prevent reuse. And this could be combined with a proper sales pitch. If, say, you get 2 kill streaks and participate in 4 base captures or defenses while using a weapon you're trialing, then when the trial expires you get a pop-up the next time you open your menu that says, "Hey, you did really nicely with this weapon that you trialed. If you buy it in the next 24 hours, we'll give it to you at a 10% discount and throw in the attachment you use the most and a free weapon skin." Additionally, the new player tutorial should finish with a clear and concise explanation as to what the trial system is and how to use it, and provide a general overview on how to use the VR and depot and certification trees. While some would rotate trials, odds are this would increase sales a lot more than drop them, since people out to abuse a trial system probably weren't looking to buy things in the first place. It could at least be tried for 3 months to see how it fared and switched back if the results were negative, since bundling items on the market and number tweaking the weapon trial timer are probably among the easier tasks from a coding standpoint, not to mention the fact anything related to the business model should be considered high priority. And you don't need a business degree to figure out that pretty much any Valkyrie bundle would sell better than not selling one at all. If the business model is sorted and revenue increases, other things that are more commonly complained about, like the flight control issues, bugs, crashes, and the like, can be dealt with more efficiently, as your experienced coders can focus on important tasks rather than having to also do mundane ones. And on the subject of business and weapon trial logistics, let's talk about gameplay logistics. Is that a segue you hear? Why, yes it is. An attitude that seems to have developed on Reddit is that the casual players are essentially a fourth malevolent faction, loyal to Count Casula, twirling their mustaches and waking up in the morning saying, how best to ruin Planetside 2 today? No. The average casual is apathetic. They log in, they instant action to deploy to any random fight, they shoot some people, and they log off 20 to 40 minutes later. They won't go out of their way to join a squad, but aren't deliberately avoiding one. They follow whatever path they're incentivized to, and Planetside incentivizes Redeployside. If you're hitherto unaware, Redeployside is basically the name given to a hyper-reactive reinforcement system in the game. If a base is attacked, you get a reinforcements needed option as a defender and can teleport to it even from another continent. In addition, once there, squad leaders can bring full platoons, while the casual players continue to come from the reinforcement request and from instant action deployment. This basically means that a team of 4 or 5 people that have gone to capture a poorly defended base can, in under 30 seconds, face 50 or more enemies, and once they've been wiped out, this same force can immediately teleport to another base on another continent, rinse and repeat. There are 2 main consequences of this. The first is long and reasonably balanced fights between 2 large forces, where the winner isn't predictable in advance, fighting over control of lanes of territory, are a rare occurrence, and the norm is fights that are one-sided or dispersed once concluded. Here, take a look at Connery at 1 PM East Coast during the middle of an Indar alert. This should be an excellent time for a big fight, but all fights the TR are involved in at the moment are massively overpopulated. My options are to join the Zerg swarm and hope a fight develops, switch to an alt, or log off. The second consequence is that because there's little logistics involved in defensive territories, often smaller, more skillful forces aren't going to hold or capture territory from larger forces, even if their tactics are better. Because of the instant deployment, it'll come down to pure numbers, and going out of your way for, say, a coordinated airdrop will often be detrimental due to the time you wasted doing it, when it's faster and more efficient just to throw endless blobs of infantry around. Personally, I don't even remember to hit the join a squad button most of the time. It's not like I derive a benefit from sitting around waiting for a galaxy to fill. Let's take a standard Broken Arc slugfest. If I want to alter the outcome, I just pop a Sunderer on the cliffs and crap out a redeployed army with a terrain advantage. Boom. Done. Battle won. Enemies crying. Took me less than a minute to drive the Sunday from Crossroads. I didn't need anyone else for that, much less a coordinated squad, and it was likely more productive than the time, effort, and resources of a coordinated galaxy drop. Why should I go out of my way to do something less efficient? Another issue is the mindset many have developed in regards to solving this problem. I'll often see well-voted posts shouting platitudes like, if only casuals would join platoons, things wouldn't be so bad, or that Planetside would be a lot better if instant action and reinforcements needed were removed and people had to take the time to get a transport.
Ooh, ha, ha, and I thought my jokes were bad.
While such a sentiment will get you upvotes on Reddit, it's an impractical solution. On the internet, especially in the hive mind, ideas and positions are 100% right in every way, or 100% wrong with no redeeming quality. Carefully examining for nuance requires extra time and effort, and like Redeployening, it's faster and more convenient to follow the herd on all is good, all is bad. This takes less time and requires less effort with little trade-off, and so it's incentivized, like Redeployening. Up until the comparatively recent disillusionment of the fanbase, a heavily used argument against comparing Planetside 2 to other shooters and criticizing it was the catchphrase, "This is Planetside," or "It's not Planetside," which was a popular argument that would get you upvotes and was essentially used to declare comparisons to other shooters inherently unfair, and therefore not in need of a counter-argument to criticisms, essentially providing a shield from criticism. But what happens to things that get a magic shield against criticism? They have a tendency to also get a shield against beneficial changes. Then bad things happen. Nuance-free positions don't automatically equate to functioning business models. Planetside 2 runs on a free-to-play model, and requires the casuals who can jump into a fight rapidly and be on for small time frames in order to have enough bodies and wallets to sustain the meat grinder and the business. If a player has a schedule that prohibits them from logging on at specified times, or for a protracted period, then if Planetside can't house them, they'll go play another game, and with them goes their money. Blocking people from certain playstyles in a free-to-play, massively multiplayer game isn't always a good idea. I would have hoped the fanboys had learned their lesson by now about pretending money doesn't impact a game and overplaying their position. What's needed is a system that properly herds the casuals into doing useful things while allowing them to keep their playstyle without sacrificing the grand strategy aspects of the game. Fortunately, that's not as hard as some make it out to be. With the magic of logistics, small altercations and upgrades to existing systems can have big effects. Sometimes the smallest change can cast a very long shadow. It's generally agreed among the community that leaders have little incentive. They have few tools to make their job easier, and frankly, their job is often pointless. You'll have more success parking a Sunderer to direct randoms than taking the effort to coordinate a large platoon. Why is it that I can destroy entire tank columns and get enemies to whine about Sunderers on cliffs without any coordination whatsoever, whereas a platoon leader will have less effectiveness with the coordinated galaxy drop? It's all in the logistics. I would propose 2 non-class-specific general-purpose certification trees be implemented, the logistics tree and the shock trooper tree. What leaders need are logistical tools. An example of an ability in the logistics tree is to call for a drop pod assault. This costs 250 nanites and calls for 5 drop pods, and the option to join a pod group would appear for a normal player right above the instant action button, and specific pod groups would also be displayed over certain territories if you were grouped with someone and wanted to join a specific one together or on your own. With upgrades to the drop pod tree, the logistician can specify which classes he wants and orders once the pod lands. And if this sounds familiar, it may be because I'm ripping off myself from 2 months after the game released. This has been an issue for a while. To incentivize use of the pods, the logistician may cert into upgrades to offer a small 10%, 15-minute XP boost applied to people who use them if they remain in the territory or an adjacent territory to the original drop zone, as well as offering temporary upgrades to gear the player is currently using, referred to as field upgrades. Again, this disappears after 15 minutes, or if the player is no longer within one territory's radius of the drop zone. Deploying via pod assault automatically groups you with the 4 other players that are also in the pods, which the logistician who placed the pod assault may group with other squads he's fielded to form small platoons and issue orders to. As an infantryman joining the pod assault, you can disable the auto squad option if you want to in your options menu, but it's on by default. At the same time this is released, the instant action cooldown is bumped up from 2 minutes to 3, the reinforcements needed option is capped at fielding a maximum of 40% population, and players that have teleported in from more than 2 territories distance have a penalty timer on squad deploy and spawn beacons, and have to accept a counts as debuff for their missing squad mates counting as reinforcements that will arrive soon if they are or become a squad leader. Over the next few months, as the community becomes more accustomed to using the logistics system, and its effects on the battlefield dynamics become better understood, and more logistics upgrades are used and patched in, this player-driven system is gradually phased in more, and the automated instant action cooldown is bumped from 3 minutes to 5 minutes, and is eventually a 10-minute cooldown. And the reinforcements needed teleport is bumped down until it's only allowed to field 5 or 10%, and there's enough prevalence of the player-driven logistics that it's no longer necessary as a major mechanic. This preserves the ability for the casual player to log on and jump into a fight, as well as creates a system that gives them squad mates and a sense of direction, orders, and a reason to remain in the area, while also effectively removing redeploy-side. This is necessary because many players put the cart before the horse with the argument that casuals just need to join a platoon. They need to be incentivized to squad up. I shouldn't have to be in a squad to start a squad. I need to be able to create one. And you can call in a bunch of drop pods to field rapid reinforcements, but 10 people in drop pods costs more nanites than 12 people in a galaxy. And if you call in reinforcements in this manner when overpopulated, you get an increasing resource tax. This preserves the tactical validity of drop pods. You can call in more and more people to try to drown a base in bodies. You can call in emergency reinforcements, and you can launch a rapid assault, but now you actually have to make a decision on if it's worth the resources. In the current system, rapid redeployment is both fastest and cheapest. With these changes, it'll be the most expensive. As this system becomes more prevalent, redeployment is taxed. A Sunderer won't be able to just crap out an enormous army, but you can insert into logistics to improve its spawn generation rate, or spend more resources on it. You can insert into calling in a special drop pod with a max in it, if you want to pay extra resources. The logistician can insert into cost reduction and cooldown reduction, but he can't remove them entirely. In addition to this system, the Shock Trooper tree is basically a casual player cert tree meant to marshal people that only log on in short bursts into doing something useful. Participating in a pod assault would have a long cooldown, so as to avoid the issue of everyone doing it for bonuses, and would have similar limitations to remove other problems that otherwise would be associated, but you may insert into the Shock Trooper specializations that basically tell a logistician or platoon leader, hey, send me to a fight, I just want to shoot some dudes, and this is structured in such a manner that they're incentivized to stay in the zone or move to a nearby one, and higher level upgrades may reduce the cooldown. So you can insert into small time reductions on instant action, or possibly buy a drop pod for a zone for, let's say, 75 nanites, if you're willing to invest the certs. And for those with such a playstyle, they are more likely to do so. Let's say, for example, a small campsite item is added to the Shock Trooper tree. This is a multi-class item that functions as a middle ground between spawn beacons and Sunderers. While a Sunderer offers spawns to an entire faction in radius, and a spawn beacon costs nothing to field but offers free spawns to a squad, the campsite is a small tent placed on the ground that offers a spawn point for yourself, and if you're in a squad, your immediate squad mates, if they are within at least a 1 territory radius, and it costs 150 nanites to plant down, and can be destroyed easily, though you may upgrade it with certifications for, say, a cloak or limited ability to offer resupply, for example. This offers a solo or small group friendly middle ground, but costs extra resources. Logisticians would be able to insert into abilities like being able to give a vehicle to another player, and this would further drive sales because once someone in a drop pod with a field upgrade loses it, he's gonna want more certs for an upgrade. Once that forbidden fruit of the nice tank has been tasted and used, he's going to want tank weapons and not have to wait around for it. The logistician can't give bonuses to himself, or at least not until the highest and most expensive ranks. He gets his compensation via a small stream of assist points from individuals he's fielded in pods or issued benefits to, essentially making him something of a quartermaster support class. This system provides pragmatic logistical tools to people in leadership positions, as well as the ability to marshal the hordes of casuals into a cohesive group with a real sense of direction, without requiring coding work that's as intensive as implementing full new vehicles or altering entire base and terrain layouts, while preserving the tactical validity of rapid warfare without making it the default option or infringing on the real-life schedule of the casual, while still preserving the game's grand strategy aspects. Now, the next thing that would be needed is a resource overhaul, but if I were to discuss that, I'd double the video's length, so I'm not going to get into detail about resource convoys, crystal harvesting, etc. But, as a band-aid, I'd probably tie the automated resource generation back into territory control as a quick fix to buy time, and make territory more meaningful until a more long-term solution can be devised, so maybe I'll produce that video if people found this one appealing. Anyway, I didn't get into detail about bugs or air game and the like, because pretty much everyone's complained about them already, so I wouldn't be offering anything new. That's why I talked about the business model and increasing revenue, because with more money, these issues can be addressed with greater ease. And it's why my proposition was to synergize the business model with the players and the trial system, and that in turn to logistics and resources, so they all tie into each other, so short-term fixes and changes could be built upon for more long-term ones later, so all the points could be hit to create balance and harmony. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Later, YouTube.